Welcome back to assignment 2C in review. You should be at this phase of the installation of Linux Fedora. As you can see, all the packages have been installed, approximately 1,200 software packages or components, and it is now prompting us to reboot. So it is essentially installed right now. After we reboot, let me go ahead and click reboot now. So after it shuts down and starts up again, we will still need to do a couple of more tasks, the post-installation configuration, and you'll see exactly what that is in a minute. I have a few messages here at the top of my virtual box. I'm just going to close those for now. They don't concern us. You can see Fedora 13 is booting up. And this is the post-install configuration. So let's click forward, agree to the license agreement, forward. Now, to follow the labs, to follow the projects, there's a user called user1. If you want to use another name, that's fine, but just keep in mind the labs I'm going to give you have user1 in it. And we can enter a full name, user1. And the password is the same as the super user. We are going to use secret again. And so you need to remember that password or whatever password you enter. Otherwise, you will need to delete Linux and reinstall. Let's click forward. Again, we get a message warning us about weak passwords. Let's proceed regardless. It's asking us to set the date and time. And now it wants us to send a hardware profile. Don't bother sending. This is a very old version of Linux, so we don't need to send a hardware profile. Let's click Finish. It's asking us to reconsider sending. No, we don't want to send the hardware profile. And we are now installed in Linux. So let's go ahead and log on. I see the user1 user account. Let's log on with the secret password. Log in. And as you can see, it's an operating system that looks very similar to Windows. You have various icons, a desktop, you have menus. Okay, so I'm not going to teach you the graphic user interface. For the most part, these programs, I just launched the calculator. For the most part, these programs you can teach yourself. You can teach the graphic user interface to yourself. I'm going to be spending most of my time in a terminal window. So if I go to Applications, System Tools, right at the bottom, I can start a terminal window, and this is sometimes called bash. We type commands here, press enter, and sometimes we get some output if we made an error. In this case, I made an error, and you can read the output there. So that's a little bit small to read. Let me see if I can bump the fonts up a little bit. I'm going to click on the View menu and zoom in 1 or 2 times. I'm going to clear the screen. Okay. And I can see I'm logged on to the graphic user interface. You can still see the graphic user interface. And this is a bash window or a terminal window within Linux. Now, I can see the user that I'm logged on as. I'm logged on as user 1, the name of my computer, and my current location. I can change my user with the switch user command. So for example, if a user called Mary exists, I do switch user su Mary. Well, there is no Mary yet, but there is a super user, su root. And I can just press enter and log on as the super user. But if I just press su by itself and press enter, it will automatically log me in as the super user. Enter the secret password and take a look. Before I was logged on as user 1. Now I'm logged on as the super user. This is the graphic user interface. However, I can log on to just a terminal window. Now look at your keyboard carefully. You'll see a control key and an alt key on the lower left side. Hold both those keys down and look for the function keys at the very top. F1, F2, F3, and so on. Let's start pressing those keys. Let me start with F3. No, it doesn't want to accept that. Let me try that again. And you can see here, if you look directly below my mouse, okay, you'll see TTY3. That means I happen to be in terminal 3 right now. Now I can log on as user 1 or as the super user. So let me type in root, press enter, put the secret password, press enter again, and you can see I'm logged on as the super user. Now, depending on how it was installed, if you want to return back to your graphic user interface, hold the control and alt key down and press F1 or F6. It will be one or the other. And if you try that, you will return back to the graphic user interface. In my case, it is F1, but in some installations, it is F6. Let's look at the different terminals here. So that's the graphic user interface. If I press Control Alt F2, function 2, I see TTY2, Control Alt F3, TTY3, and so on. I believe it goes up to terminal 6. So after you've installed Linux and you manage to log on, you will be ready for lesson 3.